Hello everyone, this is teacher Rejil. In this video, we are going to illustrate the different properties of operations on the set of integers. First, we will talk about closure property. If a and b are integers, then a plus b is also an integer. This is closure property of addition. And a minus b is also an integer. This is closure property of subtraction. And a times b is also an integer. This is closure property of multiplication. Now, to understand each property, we are going to illustrate them. 4 plus 3 equals 7. Because 4 and 3 are integers, the sum 7 is also an integer. 6 minus 0 equals 6. Because 6 and 0 are integers, then the difference 6 is also an integer. 4 times 3 equals 12. Because 4 and 3 are integers, the product 12 is also an integer. But why don't we have closure property of division? Let us consider this statement. 6 divided by 0 equals what? What's the answer? The answer is undefined. Even though 6 and 0 are integers, but see, the answer is not an integer. So therefore, we can say that integers are not closed under division. Now let's talk about commutative property. If a and b are integers, then a plus b equals b plus a. And this is commutative property of addition. And a times b equals b times a. This is commutative property of multiplication. Now let us illustrate each. 2 plus 3 equals 3 plus 2. Why? Because 2 plus 3 is 5 and 3 plus 2 is also 5. This means that in adding integers, the order doesn't matter. The answer will still be the same. 5 times 2 equals 2 times 5. Why? Because 5 times 2 is 10 and 2 times 5 is also 10. So this means that in multiplying integers, the order doesn't matter. The answer will still be the same. But why don't we have commutative property of subtraction? And we don't have commutative property of division either. Consider this question. Is 5 minus 4 equal to 4 minus 5? No. Why? Because 5 minus 4 is obviously 1, while 4 minus 5 equals negative 1. So they are not equal. Therefore, we can say that subtraction of integers is not commutative. Consider this question. Is 9 divided by 3 equal to 3 divided by 9? The answer is no. Why? Because 9 divided by 3 is 3, while 3 divided by 9 is 1/3. So they are not equal. Therefore, we can say division of integers is not commutative. Let's talk about associative property. If a, b, and c are integers, then A plus the quantity B plus C equals the quantity A plus B plus C. So this is what we call associative property of addition. And also, A times the quantity of B times C equals the quantity A times B times C. And this is associative property of multiplication. What we have noticed here is that only the grouping changes. And let's illustrate each property. 9 plus the quantity 3 plus 1 equals the quantity 9 plus 3 plus 1. Okay, in simplifying each side, we start with what we have inside the parentheses. So 3 plus 1 is 4, plus 9 is 13. And on the other side, simplifying first what we have inside the parentheses, we have 9 plus 3 is 12, and then plus 1 is also 13. So they are equal. And 8 times the quantity 4 times 2 equals the quantity 8 times 4 times 2. So simplifying first what we have inside the parentheses on the left side, we have 4 times 2 is 8, and then times 2 is 64. And on the other side, simplifying first what we have inside the parentheses, 8 times 4 is 32, then times 2 is also 64. Now, why don't we have associative property of subtraction? And we don't have associative property of division either. Consider this question. Is 9 minus the quantity 3 minus 1 equals the quantity 9 minus 3 minus 1? The answer is no. Why? Because simplifying first here what we have inside the parentheses, 3 minus 1 is 2, and 9 minus 2 is 7. That's the answer on the left side. Okay, simplifying what we have on the right side, we start with what we have inside the parentheses. 9 minus 3 is 6. Then minus 1 is 5. So they are not equal. And also, okay, here's another question. Is 8 divided by the quantity 4 divided by 2 equal to the quantity 8 divided by 4 divided by 2? The answer again is no. Why? Because simplifying what we have on the left side, we start with what we have inside the parentheses. So 4 divided by 2 is 2. And then 8 divided by 2 is 4. And on the right side, we start with what we have inside the parentheses. 8 divided by 4 is 2. And then 2 divided by 2 equals 1. So they are not equal. So therefore, we can say that associative property does not hold for both subtraction and division of integers. Now let's talk about identity property. If A is an integer, then A plus 0 equals A, and A minus 0 equals A. 0 is the identity element for addition and subtraction. And also, A times 1 equals A, and A divided by 1 equals A. 1 is the identity element for multiplication and division. Now we have here the illustrations. 5 plus 0 is still equal to 5. And 5 minus 0 is still equal to 5. And then 5 times 1 is still equal to 5. And 5 divided by 1 is still equal to 5. Now let's talk about inverse property. If a is an integer, then for every integer a, there exists another integer, negative a, called its additive inverse, such that a plus negative a equals 0. This is what we call the additive inverse property. And for every integer a, there exists a number 1 over a, called its multiplicative inverse, such that a times 1 over a equals 1. This is what we call multiplicative inverse property. Now to illustrate each, 5 plus negative 5 equals 0, and 5 times 1 over 5 equals 1. Now let's talk about distributive property of multiplication over addition and subtraction. If a, b, and c are integers, then a times the quantity b plus c equals a times b plus a times c. For example, 3 times the quantity 4 plus 5, so that means 3 times 4, which is equal to 12, plus 3 times 5, which is equal to 15, and 12 plus 15 equals 27. And also, a times the quantity b minus c equals a times b minus a times c. For example, 3 times the quantity 4 minus 5 equals 3 times 4 is 12 minus 3 times 5 equals 15. Then 12 minus 15 equals negative 3. Now, I prepared here 7 items for you to work on. Name the property of operation on integers illustrated in each item. You can pause the video and try working on these items. If you are done, I can now show you the answer. Number 1, inverse property of addition. Number 2, distributive property of multiplication. Number 3, commutative property of addition. Number 4, associative property of multiplication. Number 5, commutative property of multiplication. Number 6, associative property of addition. And number 7, additive inverse property or inverse property of addition. Did you get all the 7 items right? I hope you did. Thanks for watching, guys. This is Teacher Rejil. Keep safe.